Welcome to the No Name Podcast. Thanks for joining us. I think we're on episode 20.
Yeah.
Okay, episode 20. Hopefully you got to catch the last one, the Father's Day. Again, make sure you hit the subscribe button, the like button. If you want to get notifications of the new, as they come out, you can also hit the notify button on there. But definitely pass this out. Keep pushing it forward. We haven't seen too many comments lately, but we want to encourage the comments in the comment sections, questions, topics, whatever it may be. Go ahead and feel free to put on there. Like we've always said, we're not always going to be 100% right on everything, but we definitely are going to talk and put the subjects out there. So hopefully you guys will join us and be part of that, because that's really what we want, is building a community.
Yeah, community.
So with that said, I mean, it's we started recording on Saturday. We released them on Sunday. I typically do. So Friday was I guess no matter what side of the fence you sit on it was a pretty big thing on Friday. The justices released that they have what was leaked previously, that they overturned Roe versus Wade. I know we had a couple of podcasts, or at least one podcast, focused on Roe versus Wade, and just kind of from a high level. I mean, I think one of the things that we have to understand is that that doesn't outlaw abortion. I think people get confused. Like, we have to talk facts, first of all, about everything. And one, I think, is it doesn't outlaw abortion. All it does is pushes it down to the states.
Right, state level.
So at that point, each state kind of makes their own decision on what it is, which is really the way the Constitution and the way the United States was supposed to be created is, you know, you vote on your local government. I mean, you vote on your federal government, but again, there's a lot of different things going on. But at a local government, you vote. And so certain states had trigger laws, like Texas, I remember the Carolinas, I think, Iowa, a few of them. They had trigger laws that would automatically, you know, put in more restrictions on abortion. And then there's going to be other states that are just going to probably make it even more lenient, like California, New York, and places like that. So I think that's one of the things there. And I think from a Christian response, it's kind of across the board. I think a lot of people are very, from a Christian, non-denominational, very happy about it, which I think it's a good thing it got overturned. But again, I think we also have to have the discussions with people, right? Because there's I think some people, they push it as, okay, now women no longer have a choice with their bodies,
right?
Which I don't know if that's a true fact. I mean, I can understand why people would feel that way, but I'm not sure if that's a true fact. It's, again, we have to speak facts, and all it did was push it back to the states. So there's going to be states where abortion is going to be openly, freely. Like, it's not something that changes, and then there's just certain states it triggers. So kind of like on that topic, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I think that I don't know, man. Just the whole thing of just thinking about abortion in itself, man. Abortion is wrong, man. Yeah. I mean, that's my opinion. As a Christian man, I think that abortion is wrong, man. Like killing the baby is just wrong, man. You know, so, and I believe that women should have a choice. You know, they should have a choice. You know, but like I said in the previous talk about, you know, when two people get together and they create something, you know, those two people should be, you know, responsible adults. You know, responsible adults, man. Like I said, abortion, in my opinion, is just wrong. You know, all the way wrong.
Yeah, I think for the most part, people are in agreement on that. I think I just think it's a polarizing topic, like we've spoke about before, and I think that kind of leads into our topic today of. All right, sorry, we had technical issue there, so we'll fix that. Hopefully, we didn't cut anything or edit anything out. It's just we had the camera went off from us for a second. So again, I think that's kind of the topic that we wanted to talk about today. Not Roe versus Wade, but I think it ties into everything. But being created in the image of God and kind of what that means in our society today. Because I think in our society, we see about abortions, we see about people's rights, choices, and then we also go into, now there's a whole thing of transgender, what is a woman, and so we'll touch on things like that. But I think the overall focus that we want to focus on is what does it mean to be the image of God? What does it mean?
I mean, because like we got to think about what is creation. initially, when God created us and he told Adam and Eve to, be fruitful and multiply and, and create more life.
Yeah.
That is the, I think that's the whole purpose of, but, I think, I don't know how to say it. Like, I think I don't know how to say it, man. Like, I think we taint it. We taint relationships, and I'm talking about sex wise, like in procreation. Yeah, we've tainted it. We haven't really, kept it as, because I believe. What do you
mean by tainted?
Because I pornography.
Okay.
Gay people being, like all of that. I don't really think that God intended for us to live like that, and especially like with procreation. I think that procreation was only supposed to be meant for a man and a woman, and that specifically, and they were specifically to make other human beings.
Okay.
So that's what I think.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I believe the greatest soap opera is the government. They should be nominated for the best Oscar because, man, they can sure bring drama and and they sure can exaggerate things, because I think there's an election coming soon, right? Mm-hmm. And there's one side that says that if the other sides get voted, democracy is gonna die. Democracy is this and that. And it's weird because, we talk about freedom, that America is the land of freedom. But you know what? In these past couple of years and all that, it hasn't been free. Because, if we're really free, we're going to respect each other's decisions. Mm-hmm.
I can understand that.
It's
because
like
you got to be politically correct about everything.
Like the Wade versus Roe, that was overturned and all that, and the people with their protesting and all that. And the weird thing, how in the hell do they support themselves? They're over there every day, 24/7. Protesting.
I don't think they're always
a bunch of rich brat kids that are.
But I don't think they're all protesting 24/7.
But most of them, they're out there because they're always out there protesting. Mm-hmm. Going from. And and I understand that, but I wonder how would they feel if somebody goes to their house and start protesting at their house. Mm-hmm. They're going to the judge's house and this and that and all that. You know what? That's how would they feel if it was turned around? I guarantee you they wouldn't like it. Mm-hmm. Be bothered. Mm-hmm. The judges have a job to do. They did their job. Whether we like it or not, the sad thing that there's so much education out there about sex, So if you open up your legs, if a man sticks his thing in there, hey, then be responsible.
Something's gonna happen, right? Yeah, something's gonna happen.
What is be true? Responsible. Now, I know there's some, like rape and things like that.
That's different.
That's a hard decision for a woman to make. But for most of the part, there's women that they're aborting kids that hey, you should have thought about it, before you did what you did. It ain't the kid's fault, And then there's a lot of and it's sad because there's a lot of families out there that can't have children, that want to adopt, that want to take care of kids, and all you have to do is they made it so simple. Now you have it. Go and drop it off at at the fire station or the hospital at a certain time when they're born, with no questions asked and all that. But it's a.
Well, they made that piece simple, but the actual adoption process is not simple.
No,
that goes into just a foster care, which is now a whole other. That's a whole other Pandora box if you go into that, because our foster care is not a good system.
Oh no, it's not. I know it sucks because they make it hard. It's like anything.
Yeah.
It's like food stamps and all that. If you're a United States citizen, do you know that it's hard to get food stamps? They make it, especially Texas. Texas makes it very hard. But yet, you can cross the river, not even dry, and you got food stamps and all that. Right away. They help them out. So, that's a lot of, you can debate and all that. And I know that some of the people that crossed before they used to cross, and they were hardworking people, and they would come to work hard, but now we got gang members, drug dealers, and all that coming in. I mean, there's so many things that you can bring up, but going back to the abortion thing, I mean, those judges were elected, or they were chosen by the presidents, I think. Yeah. They weren't elected. They were chosen by several presidents throughout the years, and they make their choice. They went by the law.
Well, I think, I mean, I think our podcast is more focused on the faith part, but I think when we talk about things like this, we definitely need to speak in facts. And I think that's the hardest issue, kind of like what you were saying, is people have we're educated in a lot of different things, but we're not really educated in facts. We're educated, like, we don't go and research and do the due diligence that we're supposed to. If we find a good slogan, most Americans will follow a good slogan, from the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida to Make America Great again. You find a good slogan, people follow it, but don't listen to the facts. And I use those two because I wanted to make sure I use one for the left and one for the right. I didn't want to say, they're only saying on the one side or the other. But I think,
but going back to, we're going by Christianity, by faith and all that, it's because a lot of them that are out there protesting, supposedly they're Christians. Yeah. A lot of them are hardcore, radical Christians or whatever, the ones that go protesting at here that we have the
Planned Parenthood
and all that, and to each his own. But you know what, I believe this: if we do our job, as the Bible says, go out and witness, to reach out the world, and get them to know God will bring conviction, to a woman or to a man, whichever it is, and what is right or wrong, and instead of, because sometimes we live by that. You can't do this. You can't do that. You're Christians, and this and that, and and sometimes that'll turn people off. My belief has always been, because I've been approached several times as a pastor, to take out the church out there and protest and all that time. I don't believe in that. You want to do a rally? You want to do a block party? You want to hit the streets? Let's go for it. But I'm not gonna. I say, because I believe, if we can get women, prostitute, drug addicts and all come to Christ, Christ can change their mind. And all that.
Well, I think that's, and I think that's part of it as a Christian approach to it is we can't get lost in the polarizing of the issue, because when we talked about this Roe versus Wade the last time, like, Roe versus Wade is more than just abortion, and abortion is more than just abortion. I mean, you kind of started going into it, and I think you touched on it too. I mean, we got to look at human nature. It's not just about, people are killing babies, but what has driven society to get to that point? What has driven society to be permissions and to taint and to taint the relationship? Because, like, even as you were talking about, a man and a woman, that's what sex was created for. But even God constituted it to be, and it's very clear in the Bible, it's black and white, between two married people. There's a commitment there. There's a whole thing there. And again, the commitment of marriage is something that's supposed to be sacred. Now don't get me wrong. We live in an imperfect society, right? So we've screwed up. Originally, if everything was done perfectly the way God wanted, you would find the right person, you get married, and through thick and thin, that relationship works out. But a lot of times we don't listen to God's guidance. We don't listen to his directions, and we pick the wrong partners. We pick into this, and you get into things of, like, God's, because I want to be very clear, because this can go into all different ways. God doesn't want you staying in an abusive relationship. By no means will we say, because you're married, you got to stay there. But if they're beating the crap out of you every day, you just stay. No, that's not what
physical or verbal.
Because God made it. Because God made it very clear. Like, husbands, treat your wife as Christ, or as God treats the church, as Christ treats the church. He loved the church, and that's very important there. And I think that's one of the things, like when we're talking about these topics, is very much, we have to look at the fact base of it, because we can get lost into the arguments, like you were saying, just telling people you're wrong, and really looking at the deeper aspect of it. Like one of the things I think people have forgotten is that we're all created in God's image. We're all created and that's why the topic today was about being created in God's image, being brought into that. Everybody, whether you believe in him or not, doesn't change the fact that you were created in his image.
Right. And again, you know, the Bible says that God created a man and a woman. You know, now from there it went to sideways and all that. You know, the sad thing that in the times that we live, you know, there's been people that have changed the Bible.
Yeah.
And they made Bible according to what people like. See, because there's some Bibles that don't even mention man and don't even mention woman. You know, it's I don't know what the hell that word they mention in there, but because they don't want to hurt nobody. Or, you know, if you know, and in the Bible, when God wrote the Bible, because God wrote the Bible through men,
right?
And way back there, you know, he didn't do that. He put a man and a woman. Yeah. You know, now, you know, I've dealt with a lot of people with homosexual, gays, lesbian, whatever the hell you want to call them. And now, you know, we've allowed them into our church, you know, to come. And as long as, you know, God can deal with them, you never know. But we do tell them what our belief is here. Yeah. You know, what we believe, what the word says and all that, what we stand on, you know, our principles and all that. But, you know, we don't reject them. Yeah. You know, we don't, you're going to burn in hell, whatever. But we do tell them, hey, this is what we believe. We believe that's wrong. But, hey, you want to keep on coming, go ahead.
Well, I think sometimes the issue with some churches is sometimes they classify one sin worse than the other sin. But as we believe, you know, homosexuality is not what God created. You know, now we're not going to go and force someone, right? We can't go and tell you, okay, you need to be hetero. That's your decision. But the belief from the Bible, from what we read and what we believe in, is homosexuality was not something that God created. That's not what God created. And so that is a form of going away from God's plan, a form of going away from that.
If you want to think about
but I think sometimes what happens is where they see the contradictions and where we have to be clear on it is like, okay, so you're going to allow the fornicator, the cheater, the molester, but you're going to hate on the homosexual. And it's like, no, all those are wrong.
That's right. Yeah, all the same. They're all the same.
And not comparing one to the other. Like there are good people who are good people in the sense of they're kind people. They're not creating crimes or anything like that.
Right. Minding their business, doing their life, living their own thing.
But the belief of the belief that we believe by in the Bible is that homosexuality was not part of God's plan. And that's where we go from there. And I think part of it is just kind of addressing those things, but I think it goes beyond that now. Like, you know, the homosexuality thing, I don't even think that's like, now you're going into a place of people's identity, you know, where now you have people who have no idea what they're identified as. You have, you can identify
whatever you want to nowadays.
You know, you used to have
say, I want to identify as a cat, and I could be a cat if I want to be a cat. Yeah. Call me a cat.
Yeah. And that's the society we live in right now, is where people, you know, if you were born biologically a man, but you feel like a woman, you can identify as a woman. You see, and so vice versa. Or you can identify as, you don't really know what you identify, so you're binary. There's so many different things to it. Like it's going beyond the transgender and things of that sort.
I get it.
And I think it's easy for us as Christians to get upset and attack the person.
Right.
But what we have to look at is take a step back and really see what's the spiritual part about all this, right? Paul always made it very clear that we're not fighting against flesh and blood or flesh and bone, but we're fighting against spiritualities and principalities.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes in, you know, from the very beginning, you know, when sin, the devil all those things have manifested themselves, it's always been to contradict God's creation, right? And by that is to confuse us into different things. I mean, Adam and Eve were confused, whatever you want to say, into what they followed. What were the Cain and Abel? Again, a confusion of what was God looking for, and when we get into those states, it's instead of us trying to help, we can cause more issues sometimes. And that's not by saying like we're gonna go and say, okay, we're gonna accept every piece of it, but it says on going beyond just the outer part of the issue, right? And looking that this is beyond all of that stuff, beyond the principalities of all that stuff, and we have to, like you were saying, like God will convict. Right. If we show God's love, if we show God's mercy, if we show his grace, but we stand on our truth, and there's a right way to stand on the truth. There's a way to stand on the truth.
Yeah. Not being being a butt about it, because sometimes I understand, and I've been guilty of it. It's because we get into our emotions, man, in which we have to learn, how to control our emotions.
My problem is this. It's like right now, you have two groups of protest. Mm-hmm. One, they're happy because it was overturned.
Right.
Another group, they're all upset because you know what? They shouldn't have overturned it.
Right.
Okay. And they're bickering and fighting, and I think they've even gone into physical. Mm-hmm. And that's always been my problem. Okay, why don't you guys respect each other? It's like even here. My belief, and I'll stick to it till the day I die. God created a man and God created a woman. Now, like I said, we've allowed them in. They come in, and we, as long as they accept what we believe, come into church and all that. That's fine, But there's some now they want to force you, to believe, and like that's the thing. Believe. And then if you don't, they want to turn around and sue you or do whatever because you know what, you didn't allow them in and this and that. It's like about the cake.
Take the cake, yeah. I was about to say that. The cake story.
Okay, fine. That was the belief of that cake people. There's other cake places where they'll accept them.
Right.
Why didn't they go over there? Why did they have to go to that store?
Well, I think part of the problem, like, I mean, when you get into, I agree with you. I completely agree with you. But when you get into those type of cases, you have to understand how the spin was. You see, when you're looking at it and you're talking about a belief and stuff, that's one thing. But the moment you start making, and I'm not saying it's a right thing, when our government starts making that a classification or ethnicity, so now you've gone into laws and
it's
other
just
stuff.
Like he said, it's just trying to force.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is what they did was they took it. So here's the thing, and I'm not in agreement with it. To me, they should have left it alone because there's two things that are going to happen. This is what I don't like with America, where I don't understand both from both sides, and even with Christians, because we try to get our government to protect our freedoms and all these things, and the government's just there to run the general freedoms and stuff. But that's why we have capitalism and stuff like that. Like if that bakery was in a predominantly homosexual area, the government didn't need to step in, because guess what? They're going to be out of business. Because what's going to happen? People stop going and buying. That's the whole point of capitalism. You don't like what the beliefs are, you stop buying, you stop doing it.
Okay.
Same thing if they're in a predominantly, place that didn't care about that. They're going to stay in business because they're going to have their core group there.
Yeah.
I think what happened was when you start getting into those things, and again, I don't agree with it. I think what happened was you classified homosexuality as almost ethnicity. So it would be wrong if you told Manny, you can't come into the church because you're black.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Well, when the government turns homosexuality into a type of ethnicity, now you're pushing against someone's
and I understand all that, but that's what I mean.
Yep.
There's no freedom no more.
Yeah.
You see? Because now they're trying to force us that we have to believe like them and accept them. Mm-hmm. And because it's just the same way. There's churches. If they want to keep that lifestyle, there's churches for them.
Yeah.
Why don't they go over there?
Yeah.
Why do they have to try to force themselves and then force the church to change. Yep. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Because the same way like that cake place.
Right.
If they knew that person was like that, hey, go somewhere else. Yep. You know what? Bash them so they where they're tell your other homosexual friends, tell your other lesbian, whatever, not to go there.
Yeah.
But to ruin the person's business.
Yeah.
Because of what they.
Yeah. Because I don't think that's. And I agree with that.
And that's what I mean. We live in a time that's not right. Force like LBGKQQXYZ, whatever the hell all those are.
Yeah.
That's a group, but now they're trying to make everybody believe the same way. Now I don't think all of them are like that. But there's some that are very aggressive in that area,
right?
But
that's where we as a church have to be. But that's where we as a church have to be careful to generalize a whole group based on the 10% extremists,
right?
Because you see, that's the same thing they do to us. Because you have 10% extremists who go out, that go out to the protest.
It's like the guy
that go. You have the 10% extremists that go out to the protest that you were talking about. That we don't. That's only 10% of non-denominational Protestants. But guess what they think? Every non-denominational Protestant think like that.
But it's like the guy that was marrying on the footsteps of the courthouse on Valentine's Day. The guy was doing it for free for years. Did him a lot. Then in one instant, a couple of years back, there was several lesbians, gay, whatever, wanted to get married. He told them that he didn't believe in that he wouldn't marry them. He was doing it for free. Yeah. But man, they banned the guy and even bashed him and all that because of that, But, there's so many different, I mean, hey, there's other people that are like that. Once you get, the government should have gone, hey, we'll get somebody else for them and let this guy keep on doing what he's doing. You see? The moment you, and that's in anything, you believe different. Nowadays, they attack you, they want to come against you. And all that, and like I said, it's like now.
But that's on both sides.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. Because I'm not talking just them. I'm talking that's why I say that's why there's no more freedom in America, the way it's supposed to be, the way it was created.
Well, I don't. I think that's the issue. We're expecting America to make us free. Right. America was never
right.
Because that's the thing. Like if you go back to America, whether we like it or not, the facts of it is it was created due to religious issues. Now we like to hang our hats on, and a lot of it is facts that a lot of it was very much Christianity focused.
Look, let me tell you this: if it was the other way, that the judges would have kept it, guess what everybody would say? Leave it alone. Why are you guys protesting?
But that's what I mean. But both sides have the right to protest. Like
I know, but
you have both sides have the right to.
You got politicians getting mad. Everybody, that's right. Was like one, they deceived us. Two of the judges, I guess, that voted. They didn't tell us the truth. Well,
that's because again, no one's sticking to facts. We all get emotional and we jump into it because the facts of the matter is the Republicans who have always had a very strong stance on pro-life
abortion laws
have been working this type of thing for years. They've been putting in money to have the people put into office, and they timed it right to have those type of judges in there.
Yeah.
And so that's the overturn of it.
And I'm not saying that one or the other are good. Like I always believe. Look, and anytime people vote or whatever, you got to find the ones that's going to burn you the least, because they're both going to burn you.
Yeah.
They're both going to lie to you. They're both gonna make promises and not keep them. You just gotta find out which is the least crooked one, and try to get him there.
Well, I think
because they're all gonna. It's like anything, You vote congressman, all this in there. We got all this, and they're all gonna think of their state, their cities and all that, And
but I think that's part of the issue that sometimes even us as Christians we run into on some of this is that we're not educated in the facts of the things and what's going on. We react very emotionally, and like part of this is like, look, I truly believe we as Christians and even the other side, whether it's the homosexuality and transgender, whatever, you should not be reliant on the government is supposed to give us freedoms, but freedoms to certain things, right? We have a freedom to have a job. Right. There should be a freedom of religion.
Right.
That doesn't mean the freedom of Christian religion. Like, unfortunately, as much as we want to push, like, that means freedom for anyone to have any religion. Whether you, and I'm not saying those other religions are right. I don't believe in those other religions. I think a lot of them are wrong. But being an American citizen, being an American citizen, I have to believe that they have the right for that religion, because that's what that's part of our Constitution. That's part of what it is. The freedom of speech, whether I agree with their speech or not,
right?
As long as it doesn't incite a riot, it doesn't incite this or that, like all those things. And I think sometimes as Christians, we and even the other side, we become very reliant on our government to set our freedoms, our priorities, our morals, and that's not like. If you read the Bible, it was not based in the U.S. The Bible has been all over the world. Yep. And the morality is based on God, not our American shit. Right. And one day, if America goes to like let's say that like they get some judge, they get whatever judges or Congress or whoever, they all get on the same page and they say, we rule that Christianity is not a religion. We're taking that out, and the only religion you can be an American is this one that doesn't believe in Christ. Well, guess what? Yeah. Now you have a choice. Are you going to be an American citizen, or are you going to be a follower of Christ? I'm packing my bags. I'm getting out, right? Because to me, now that's that. But my base, and that's where I think people don't like. One of the things we have to understand.
You're right.
Yeah, one of the things we have to understand is like. You know, even Jesus said, you know, give to Caesar what is Caesar and give to God what is God, right? Whether he agreed, Caesar considered himself a god. You know, even in that time, Caesar considered himself a god. A Caesar was a god. They ruled without authority. That's the whole reason why the Jewish people were able to get Christ crucified, because they saw themselves as a king and a god, and any other leader claiming to be as such was a threat, whether they were small or big. And that's how they saw Jesus as. But Jesus didn't go to the point of he was saying, I'm trying to change Rome. You know, that's where the disciples felt, because they thought, Jesus coming in, he's taking over Rome. Everything. He said, I'm not trying to change Rome. He said, I'm trying to change the individuals.
Right, people.
I'm trying to change the people. And it doesn't matter whether they're in Rome or they're in Greece or wherever they end up. Right. I'm trying to change them, not the government. Like, God didn't come to set up a government. He's going to come and he's going to set up his kingdom later. But he came to change our hearts. And I think that's where we have to get focused on some of these things. Like for people, whatever side you're on, like if you don't agree with the overturning of Roe versus Wade, vote locally. Because guess what? That just got pushed down to the states. So if you want abortions to be in Texas, then vote people that are pro-abortion, and then that'll happen. If you want people you're not for abortions, then vote for people that are not for abortion, and that's what's going to happen in the state. That's all Roe versus Wade changed.
Yeah. But then understand that the majority rules. That's just what it is.
And if you don't like it, guess what happens? Like you were kind of saying, like if you don't, let's say Texas turns into a place that
move to another state
that becomes abortionist, right? Like let's say 20 years from now, they vote in nothing but people that are pro-abortion, pro-choice. They change the laws to say, hey, abortions are free. We're going to cover it by the state. Well, guess what? If we don't like it and we're like, you know what? I don't agree with that. I don't want my tax dollars. I don't agree with that way of thinking. I don't want that. Then
time to relocate.
You move to another state. Yep. Just like people right now, if you're in Texas and you're like, well, I don't, well, the funny thing, and I was listening to this one guy make this commentary where it's very, where you find, and like you said, you have all the senators and congressmen coming out and making all these claims. But here's the thing. The Supreme Court doesn't make laws. Supreme Court, all they do is take laws that were made and rulings that were made and make sure they're constitutional.
They just uphold them, right?
Congress and the Senate make laws. So if they really cared about protecting the freedom of choice, they had almost 80, 60, whatever amount of years since Roe versus Wade to make that a law that would not have been overturned by the Supreme Court. they did not make it a federal law. It never passed through Congress. It never passed through Senate. They never made that a law. But now they're upset because they banked on a ruling that the Supreme Court made many years ago. Which I agree. Like now, like and both men and women, like if you don't know your bodies, if you're not, like we should be talking about sex ed. We should be talking about certain things. Like, the whole premises of sex and what God created should be between a man and a woman who are married. But it's not always going to happen.
Look, I have family members that are lesbians, family members that are gay, homo. Can't say the other word because they'll probably come and arrest me, but that's fine. And I talk to them. I respect them to a certain point and all that. But I remember one cousin of mine, we were talking and he asked me for my opinion on that. And I said, look, you're asking me, so I'm going to tell you what I believe. I don't believe a man should be a gay, I believe God made him a man. But for whatever reason, that's how you feel and all that, I got to respect it.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you what the Bible says. Now it's up to you, what you do with that. That's between you and God. I'm not going to force you. I'm not going to change you. I'm still going to talk to you. You're still my cousin. You're still my blood.
Of course.
I'm not liking all that. As long as you don't back it up, we're all right. Because then we're going to have problems. But, it's, and all that. And, but that's what I mean. Look, people fight the 10 Commandments to be put in display in certain places. They fight you can't display the Bible. You can't have prayer in school. But yet, they want freedom to put rainbows all over the streets and put this and that and all that, and they allowed it, and we got to respect it, and we can't say nothing about it. And that's what I mean, they don't want to respect us.
But isn't that our fault for voting those people in?
Oh yeah, and that's what I mean. But
that's what I mean.
But what I'm saying is, like, they have their own street where they go and hang out. There's restaurants and all that. That's where they hang out. But then they say, okay, I'm gonna go to a straight bar. Which they can. But hey, then don't try to start trouble there. That's and that's what I mean. It's like when they come here. Like I said, we accept them. We allow them to come in. We don't shut the door on them and all that. But this is our belief.
No, and I
it's
think
like if they would come and tell me, "Will you marry me?" Hell no. No, and that's my license and all that, and that's what I mean. But yet they'll come try to. What I'm saying. Why force the issue where there's people that will do it? There's churches and all that, and that's what I mean. If you believe like that, it's like going to to Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is not only about abortions; they help other things. They give you birth control pills, they check you out and all that. There's other things that they can do, But most Christians, that's a slaughterhouse, They're going to go slaughter the babies there. Not everybody that walks through those doors are doing that.
Yeah.
I
think the biggest...
And that's what I mean.
But I think and you're right. I mean, I think we should have that freedom of choice. That's a freedom that we should have. Like if someone came in and asked us to marry homosexuals and we don't agree with it, if we don't agree with it, we should have those freedoms. The issue that we're always going to run into, and here's the thing that we as Christians, we have to start thinking long term. Like we think so much about this and we're so reliant on our government, but we're so reliant on our government protecting those things. But honestly, here's how I see my prediction. I don't know when it'll happen. I don't know if it'll be 30, 40 years from now. But here's how the government will start changing some of that stuff. One, they're gonna put it this way: if you guys don't want to do it, then you lose your
tax exempt.
Your tax exempt. You guys don't want to do this, we'll take this away. And that's why, like, one, we have to be thoughtful about how we vote, and then two, we got to also understand that our faith cannot be based on our government.
But again, that's what I mean. again, it's a spiritual battle.
Yeah.
That's how we got to see it.
Yep.
Daniel, the Bible says, if you study the history of Daniel, Daniel was a slave and all that. Mm-hmm. And he raised up through the ranks, in the secular world, what you call it at that time.
At the time, right.
And I think it was Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah. And he raised up and found a lot of favor with Nebuchadnezzar because he interpreted a dream and all that when the other idiots couldn't interpret nothing, And but
you just had to get an idiot
and they because they were idiots. And and what did they do? They conspired and said, you know what we gotta do, we know what Daniel loves. Daniel loves his God. Daniel loves his God so much that he's not gonna sacrifice his God. Mm-hmm. So they went to the king and told him a story and all that, and told him, look, for a certain amount of days, I think it was,
no prayer.
There's no God, no prayer for no other gods. See, now they didn't. They knew better than to try to single out Daniel, but they knew how to do it.
Yep.
Said, no God, only you, King Nebuchadnezzar.
I mean, I think that's
and when Daniel found out, he didn't go and protest.
Yeah.
He didn't go and fight. You know what he went and did?
He went
up to his house. He opened up all his windows.
So everybody
and he started praying.
Yeah.
And seeking God. Mm-hmm. And for them to see him. And they forced the hand of the king. Because the king liked Daniel. He had favor with him. King Nebuchadnezzar. Even King Nebuchadnezzar was an idiot, as a king. Like the president, but King Nebuchadnezzar. And, so he forced his hand, So Daniel was thrown into because even before he was thrown into the lion's den, the king gave him another chance, and told him all you have to do is don't pray for those days. Yeah. And Daniel said no. So he threw him into the lion's den.
And that's and that's a really good example. I think Daniel's a really good example because I think you have to look at it from so many different aspects. Like you pointed out several of them, and I think you're completely right. Look, Daniel never conformed to the Babylonian way, which was to worship other gods and things like that. He continued to do his thing. Now, also the opening of the windows and stuff, that's what he did on a daily basis. He wasn't going out to outshow. Right. He wasn't. He was just going through his daily life. Right. Now, if his daily but look at what we see in Daniel. Daniel didn't go, and like you said, because both sides do this. I think sometimes as Christians, we try to force things onto other people. Mm-hmm. And then same way, like you said, now you've seen transgenders, homosexuality and things like that, trying to force it onto people that, and if you look, Daniel didn't go and say, okay, now I'm in a place of leadership, so I'm going to go to Nebuchadnezzar's and tell them that everyone needs to pray to my God. All he did was he was loyal to his God. He focused on God, his relationship. Mm-hmm. They put a circumstance in front of him. He had a choice. Do I follow the government at this point? But what people don't understand is he was willing to die. Like he did not know that going into the lion's den, he was going to be saved.
Yeah, he thought he was going to die.
You see, a lot of us, we think, okay, I'm going to stand up, so there's not going to be nothing done to me. And what we don't always understand and see is that, hey, sometimes God's going to step in and he's going to do like a Daniel and he's going to protect them. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes you're going to be like John and you're going to be exiled.
Yeah.
You see, and we have to understand that. But I think Daniel's is a good look what happened.
And like Paul and all them that got their head beheaded. Paul was beheaded.
And I think Daniel's a good example to use as we're coming into this time right now. It's easy for us to get into it's easy for us to get into the swing of both the left, the right.
Right. And that's what I'm trying to say. It's not so much, what I'm saying that, what they say like now, the church should not be involved in politics. The church should be involved in, serving God. Now, every individual member has a right to go and vote and all that, but the church as a whole should not be, involved in all that. What we should be doing is seeking God, and trying to find favor in God, because all this thing is becoming a real big mess. With gas prices, with food prices, and that's why I said Man, you want to see a good soap opera, a good movie? Watch the government, watch the news, and man, you'll see how. And and that's why the church, we should be praying, and not because there's some pastors now getting involved for running to office, evangelists and men of God or whatever you want to call them, getting and that's up to their decision, But as a church, God calls us to pray, to seek God, and see what God's favor is for the world,
Yeah, and I would say
Daniel, when he went and prayed, his thought wasn't to change the whole situation. Daniel was for him. He wasn't going to lose his relationship with God. And you're right. He didn't open up the windows to be cocky, because that's what he did all the time.
Yeah, he was just following his normal thing.
He was not going to hide.
Yeah, no, and I
express what he believed.
No, I agree.
It's like the three Hebrew boys, that were there with Daniel too.
Well, that's what a lot of people. That's what a lot of people. That's what a lot of people forget is that when they read those stories, they forget the overarching view of Daniel and Daniel and Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego were not the only Hebrews captured.
Right. But that's what I mean.
Hundreds of thousands.
That's another thing. They didn't choose to be there.
Yeah,
they were captive. They were slaves.
Yeah,
they were slaves. They didn't. It ain't like, okay, let's go to America, the land of the freedom. To be. No, they were captive and they were forced to go there. And they were being forced to, live the lifestyle of them, and they were slaves, So when they came to certain things, like when the three Hebrews, they told them that they had to kneel down, and they said nope, because they were sticking to what they believe, their relationship with God, And even when they were willing to die for it. Yeah. And again, you were right. They didn't know they were. Because they even said it. Our Lord can save us. Yeah. But if he doesn't, we're still not gonna bow down to you.
But I think that's where sometimes I think sometimes us as human beings, and especially in America, we tie in being American with being Christian, and those are two separate things.
Oh man.
Yeah. Being an American citizen and being a Christian are two separate things. Mm-hmm. And when we tie the two together, that becomes an issue, because then sometimes we get the mindset of, we think America's the only Christian country. There's no Christian countries. There's just Christians who live in countries.
Right.
And again, that's why, it would be very hard to be a politician, because quite honestly, as a politician, in all honesty, you're supposed to set your religious views to the side, because it's about the majority of the people you're serving. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Now, you should have morality. You should have this and that. But that's very hard, because you have to be thinking about both sides. And most people, and that's why you vote on the person that you feel has the closest morals to you. And I say closest morals because no one's going to be exactly perfect. Like, you're going to have people that have different views on capitalism and all these other things. I think, like you said, with Daniel, I think Daniel's a great example. Not even one that I was thinking about, but Daniel's a great example for this time and day of how we handle things. Like, we cannot go into this. Look, I think one of the false things that really for Christians right now is they're over celebrating the overturning of Roe versus Wade. And it's like,
I think it's just like in anything. We're always going to judge people, Mm-hmm. You look at Mexicans, they're gang members, or Latinos, not just Mexicans. They're gang members, they're drug addicts, just like blacks. They're gang members, they're drug, blah, 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 But there's a lot of good Mexicans. Got a lot of good Latinos, a lot of good black people that, they didn't succumb to that lifestyle. Say, no, just because I'm born in the poorest side of the city, whatever state, whatever. No, I want to do, I want a better lifestyle. Yeah. And they said no to drugs, no to gangs, no and all that. And they, stayed in that neighborhood until they were able to rise, their education and all that. And made a better living for them, and that's just in anything. We're always gonna be, we're just gonna judge people. Everybody judge everybody by their certain circumstance, And like I said, I just like the soap opera, the government, because now with the elections they say, oh man, You know, if you vote for this group, you know, democracy is dead. You know, this and that. You know, and
well, both. I mean, with both sides, both sides winning, and all this that's happening is democracy and work. That's supposed to be the voting, the ruling of the people, and things like that. So it is democracy and work, and honestly, pushing it down to the states is really what the founders wanted. Now, but
voting, I think in November. But, you know, I think because. You know, so that's when
that's what they all use that stance,
right? And that's what I mean. That's why I say it's a good soap opera.
But I think
better actors than not better than Steven Seagal, but they're better actors than the rest of all the rest out there.
But I think where I was more headed with this is that how do we respond as Christians? Because I think right now as Christians, there's a lot of Christians who are over celebrating Roe versus Wade. And I think from a democracy standpoint, the overturning of Roe versus Wade was good because it pushes it down to the states where now, you know, those states, because you have to look at it this way. When you look at it from a federal standpoint, right, wrong, or different, you're always going to have people feeling cheated. Like you mentioned how some people were saying, oh, the justices lied to us. 2 of them lied. Yeah. And then, the Republicans have been putting in, you know, well, all they did was overturn it and push it to the states. So now you vote in your states and the state that you live in. And so I think as Christians, sometimes we're over celebrating something, but we lose the sight. And to me, honestly, I think Roe versus Wade may actually hurt Christians more than they think. Yeah. Because you know, now there's more you used to have Christians very much on the conversation of abortion, pro-life versus pro-choice. Well, now that you have it overturned, now it moves to a state level. So you're going to see people start losing that focus because guess what? In Texas, that may, you know, maybe abortions go down and it's not going to be a focus. Like but it doesn't solve our overall problems. That's not solving.
The 2 judges that were voted in, the last 2, not the black lady that made history, but the other 2, Kavanaugh and that lady. I watched most of when they, you know, they do that questioning and all that, and they and a lot of the questions they were asking him, they asked him about abortion and all that, right? And they always kept to what they would say, you know, how you going to vote on it, right? And they would say, look, I'm not for it or against it. We go, what's the law? You know, what's the law? We got to check the law, whatever it is on. And that's what they would say, whatever, you know, comes to them at that time when they get together. We only uphold the law. We don't make the law. We just got to uphold it. Yeah. He says, so I can't tell you how I'm going to vote right now on this, on that. Right. Until we're in this situation and then we uphold the law. Yeah. See? So they never win yes or no.
But I don't think that's but that's just democracy and work. Right. No matter how you feel about it, that's democracy. But I think the focus so we got to bring the focus back on how do we respond as Christians going forward?
Like I said, we got to pray. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Pray.
Well, I think pray and then still listening to people, still having these conversations because, you know, at the end of the day, look, all 3 of us have agreed abortion is wrong. None of us agree with abortion, but to just say that close-minded and not to listen to the person going through it, to not hear society and we wouldn't be doing what we're called to do.
As a pastor for 30-something years that I've been, you know, counseling or, you know, advising people, whatever, and I've dealt with a lot of people. I've always told them, look, like in divorce, okay? When they've come to me and, you know, and basically they all say, well, the Bible says that you can only get divorced because of adultery and this and that, right? And I told them, look, if you're being abused, you know, I mean, physically abused, verbally abused, you know, you have to make a decision, right or wrong, you know, and live with the consequences. You know, I can tell you what the Bible says, But at the end of the day, you have to make that choice.
Yeah.
The church can't make it for you. The pastor can't make it for you. You know, the leadership can make it. It's between you and God and your convictions. Mm-hmm. And I believe that's in everything. You know, our job, it's like the mailman. The mailman's job is just to deliver the mail. If he delivers something you didn't like, that's not his fault. You know, if you gotta, that they're going to close your lights or they're going to close your water or whatever, or you're foreclosing your house, all he did was deliver that mail, you know? And that's all we can do. We that's why when I preach, once I finish, I'm not going to see are you doing what I told you, what the Bible says? No. I delivered what God told me.
Yeah, no, you know what? I
convictions, you know.
I totally 100% agree with that. I mean, at the end of the day, man, you know, all of us, us three sit here, we go and we talk to people, man. You know, we want to encourage them and we want to tell them, you know, ultimately that Jesus loves them. It doesn't matter if they're homosexual, doesn't matter if they're going through an abortion, doesn't matter if whatever the case may be, you know what I mean? You know, ultimately, man, our response as Christians should always be a response of love first, you know.
Because like even the gun laws nowadays, you know, this morning, what's his name signed the gun bill that was given to him. President Biden, you know, they finally took the bipartisan whatever. Let's read on the laws for the guns, and then a lot of it. The only thing I don't think they changed was the age. See, and you know, and they were saying no, we need, you know. Biden said I'm going to sign it, but we didn't get everything we were supposed to have gotten, you know, to keep the streets safe.
Then there it is. That's democracy.
But the thing is, look. You can get guns anywhere. You know, legally, illegally, you can get them anywhere. And how many people own guns nowadays? You know, basically everybody. How many of our government people you don't think own their guns and all that? You know, now that kid, whatever, he shouldn't have bought it, but there were no signs that he was going to do something like that.
Well,
you didn't have a criminal record.
But I think that's what leads to the bigger issue. That's what goes back to what can we do?
Right.
Because again, we're relying on our government to protect everything, and we keep going back to laws and government.
Right.
But what we're not doing, like you said, we cannot be angry about what the mailman brings.
Right.
But one time, the mailman used to represent someone that worked through what was their motto? Rain, shine, snow, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what I believe and this is just my thoughts, and actually I heard another Christian person say this, and I thought it was very good. I think as Christians we need to start being known for what we do instead of what we can't do.
Right.
So we need to be known as pushing the positive image of Christ, that we're all the image of Christ. Because right now, I mean, if you look at it, a lot of our suicides, a lot of our depression and stuff is because through social media, and this is not just recently, this is through years. There's certain images of how a woman should look, how a man should look, and you don't look up to that. You get into these things. We have confusion of gender and stuff, and we have abortion. We have all these things, but from the church, all we hear is, a lot of people, all they hear is, oh, you can't get an abortion. Oh, you can't do this. And I think where we need to be more into it is the church is helping to rebuild the families, putting the examples out there, because even in churches we have a lot of divorce, we have a lot of and we're so focused on these issues of homosexuality, of this and that we're not even building the core family once again. We have to build, and it's not the register, but it's about being God's light, really having that relationship with him, pushing his love out there so that we're known as people who are putting families together, people who are there for the adoptions, who are there to help the lost, the broken, the this and that. Because our government and people they're gonna tear each other apart. I mean, look at the left and right; they're tearing each other apart. Doesn't matter where you're at. We have a kids who are so confused, who grow up arguing with each other about what their gender, what their pronouns, this and that. Man. We need to be there to show God's love, and hopefully through the conviction of Christ that changes, and they understand. They go back to, look, we were all formed in His image, and there was 2 images He created: a man and a woman. And there was an image of a family that He created. Yeah, and sometimes circumstances happen. You know, husbands died, wives died.
What Jesus said is for us to go ye and make disciples and reach out the world. You know, and that's the first thing we should be doing. And you're right, we should be concentrating and reaching the lost and telling them to come to God and let God convict them and lead them, you know, and then because, you know, they can change the age to 21, right? But that kid could have, you changed it. That kid would have waited till 21 to do something, you know. It doesn't mean he was going to change. Yeah, he already had it in his mind, whatever happened to him and all that. You know, sad that what happened, and it shouldn't have happened, but it happened, you know. And our job is to be there to console the people, to help them out. Because you know what? Tragedy is going to happen all the time. You know, tragedy, you can walk out on the street and a tragedy happens. Oh, yeah. You know, you can be in your house and a tragedy happens. You know, I mean, how many drive-by shootings have happened that they shoot a person in the house that had nothing to do,
innocent people,
with a situation, you know, and it happened, you know. So, you know, and our job is, you know what, let's preach, teach, and hopefully they'll come to Christ and they get close to God, and the conviction and their, you know, the belief of the word will change.
But I think that's where lives. But I think that's where people have to have that relationship with God,
right?
Because we have a lot of preachers, but most of them don't preach in love. We have a lot of people that go out and try to teach, but they don't teach in love.
Yeah,
like I think the problem is most of them don't really have a true relationship with God. Because when you have a relationship with God, it's like something when you were talking with I don't know, it was a cousin, nephew, whatever it was, about homosexuality. You weren't doing it out of spite or bitterness. You were doing it out of love. But most of the time you have people going out there and they're not doing it out of love. And that's the piece that I think people have to, we as Christians, have to get back into having a relationship with Christ. And I think when we have that full relationship with Christ, then God's love pours out and we're able to stand on His truth. If you look at Jesus always stood on His truth, but His truth was very different than others, because it was like, honestly, if you read throughout the Bible, you know who Jesus was the toughest on? The church of that time. He was the toughest on the Pharisees and the Sadducees and all that.
Oh yeah,
he was the toughest on them because they had the laws, they had all this stuff, but they had no love on it.
Right.
Look, it's like my stepdad would always tell me when he taught me how to preach. There's nothing wrong telling the people what's wrong. There's nothing wrong talking about sin, you know, straight out. Yeah. As long as at the end you give them a solution. Then he told me, look, there's a busher and there's a surgeon. A busher, when he gets the meat, what does he do? He just starts butchering. He starts cutting the meat, whatever, you know, and all that. A surgeon, he has to find out what
the problem is, right?
And all that, you know, and he takes his time and all that, and you know, because he wants to help that person. And he told me, what do you want to be, Joe? Do you want to be the butcher the people all the time? Or do you want to be the surgeon?
That's a pretty good analogy.
You know, where you're going to find out what God tells you, hey, this is what's wrong with your church. This is what's wrong with the people, you know. Tell them, but here's the solution. You see, the Bible will always give you a solution. You know, the Bible will always give you, you know, a way out. You know, and that's the thing that nowadays, you know, it doesn't happen. And you're right. We get so involved with everything going on, and you know, and trying to get involved in this and that instead of what God called us to do. Go reach out to people. reach out the lost, because most of the whatever politics, whatever, they're not in our cities. Mm-hmm. They're not where the problem is, and that's why when I ever help pastors in other cities and all that, I've talked to them. I tell them, look, and they ask me, this is what we do, but you know what? It might work for you in your city or state, or it might not, because it's a different city, it's a different state. You got to figure out what God wants you to do. Yeah. And I believe that God's trying to give us an identity as a church. Mm-hmm. What is it that we want to be? And I believe that God wants us to be the light to people. Yeah. Because people are confused. A lot of people don't know what's going on. They don't take the time to research, take the time to know and all that. Mm-hmm. They just believe everything that is out there. And we're responsible for our city, for our community, where God puts us, to help out.
Well, I think that's where
you're right. We have to do it with love.
Well, I think that's where Christians they got to get when we talk about getting it in love, it's about having that relationship with God. But having that relationship with God means you're having that one-on-one. It's not just coming to church. It's not just our podcast. It's not just Bible studies. It's having that one-on-one time with God, going back to the Bible, understanding what's in your Bible. Most Christians don't even know what's in their Bible to be able to explain to others or to share with others. It's just and then being able to listen. Like, that's one of the things that I truly believe. If you go back and you read the Gospels, one of the things you'll see from Christ, and it doesn't go into details in it, but when he was there with the people, he was listening to them.
It's like our model has been changed, to love God, love people, And Jesus showed us that Jesus never denied anybody.
No.
They brought him lepers. They brought him demon-possessed. They brought him prostitutes. I mean, they brought him the worst of the worst, and Jesus never rejected them.
No.
Jesus ministered to them, and Jesus loved them. Now, he told them what was wrong. He told them that, and he would fix it, and he would tell them, and sin no more. See, nowadays, churches, instead of first loving the person, regardless of how they come,
trying to fix them,
showing compassion and all that, and
that's what it is.
Bring them to Jesus and see what God does in their life.
But you know what? You can't fix somebody first. It's just like what Tony's saying, man, and it makes sense. Like if you really truly want to help somebody, like you really want to help them, man, like you have to have a strong relationship with God, man. You have to, because God is going to help you to be able to help that person.
Yeah. It's just,
what I'm saying? It's just like we used to say like, keep the Bible between you and people.
Yeah.
And it made a lot of sense, because you can refer to the Bible before you even get to the person. You know what I mean? And that's what's gonna help. It has to be, like you said, Tony, got to be out of love first, man. We gotta be out of love.
It's like the home and the church. Every man that's come by in the years that I've been here, and everybody's come by through the church, I always tell them, look, all we can do is give you a chance. Some of you, this is your second chance. Some of you, your third chance and all that. Whatever you do with it, that's between you and God. Mm-hmm. If you allow God to do something in your life, man, God's going to change your life. But if you don't want to, you just want to use this place just to get out, and
that's just what it'll be.
Get off parole and all this. You know what? Your life ain't going to change, But I can't force you to do what we believe, but this is what we believe.
Yeah.
And same way when people come to our church, I tell them same thing. This is, I tell them, look, try us out first. See if you like us. If you don't, there's so many other churches out there that you can find that that you might think is better for you.
But I think this needs to go beyond the church, because that's the biggest issue. It's like everyone. Here's the thing: like, if every person is gonna be convicted because they just talked to the pastor, like, you limit the number of people that can be saved.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't even be the pastor convicting. Like you said earlier, it's Christ's conviction.
Right.
Like when Jesus went, he spoke, and that's why he created the disciples, so they could go spread the word. And it's not about, everyone's becoming our disciple. It's about, we all need to start having that relationship with God, having those conversations, and then being able to listen to people and allow God's love to work, because here's the thing. If we truly think outlawing abortion solves our issue. No. There's so much more. Like when we talked about the Roe versus Wade the first time, there's a mentality, there's a spiritual, there's a discouragement, there's depression. There's a lot of stuff that goes with the whole conversation of even thinking of having an abortion. Just the same way when it comes to all the other sins, with all the other things that we've corrupted in the perfect plan of Christ.
I mean, it's like we probably have had women that've been through it.
No, I'm sure we have.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm sure we have.
And you know, God still loves them, and they have.
No, but what I'm talking about is
I mean about the church. I'm not talking about the building. I'm talking about people.
Yeah.
I'm talking about we're the church.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be out there ministering. You know,
that's where.
And you're right. It's like a friend of mine once. I'll never forget him when he testified. He's dead already, and he said, man, I want to thank God because Joe Sandoval saved me and help me.
You didn't save him.
When he got off, I tell him, man, that's why you are the way you still are.
You didn't save him.
Because I'm the one that saved you, not God.
Yeah.
I can't do nothing for you.
Yeah.
You see?
But
we have to be the example.
But I think that's where that's where
because Paul even said, follow me. Paul even said that to his people. Follow
but he said me as
I follow Christ.
Right.
You see? And we're supposed to be able to tell that to people, to follow me as I follow Christ. Right. See, you know why a lot of us don't want to do that? Because we're not following Christ. You know, I've been in organizations, I've been around people, pastors, preachers, teachers and all that they live by do as I say, not as I do.
But I think, but even with that, like and again, that goes into deeper stuff. Right. It's different things because I do believe we should be God's example, but all of us. Right. You see, the problem is everybody. But here's the problem: when you use that example of Paul, then they think it's only the leaders at the church, or they think but it's supposed to be everyone. And if you look at Paul, I think during that reference, he's referencing a young church, baby Christians. Yeah. Because there's a point where he says, stop looking at me and look at Christ directly.
Yeah.
Because the problem is when you look at a man, when you look at a organization, they're going to fail.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And if your pure focus is
I've always told people, if you put your eyes on me, I'm going to
we're saying the same thing.
I'm going to hurt you. But you know what? You see, you already made me lose thought.
You literally were just saying it and you forgot. That's just old age. That has nothing to do with me. I didn't even interrupt you. You were talking and you forgot.
Oh, yeah. But you know, if you look at Paul's letters, you know the people that he always thanked that helped him out? We're not the disciples. We're not the prophets or the pastors of that time. They were just ordinary people. And all his letters that he thanked, that were there to help him out through his hard times or through his evangelistic and all that. They were,
Yeah, but
and you're right. And I believe that's what God's trying to do, because you know what? Nowadays, that's follow the mega church. Follow the greatest name of an evangelist, the most popular, the most famous pastor, whatever, know. And all this,
and we're gonna be following
and some of them are ridiculous. They got bodyguards around them, and and all that, and
hanging on every word.
And they might need them, but I've seen some of those idiots bodyguards that you can just get right through the pastor,
record today.
You just gotta, anybody can be used by God.
Well, and I think that's what our message and that's what I think. Here's the thing: as Christians, we all got to be having that, because guess what? We either have these type of people in our family, we have people that are going through depression, everyone's gonna have people. And it's important that we're having that relationship with God and spreading the word that way.
One more thing I want to say, because if not, you're gonna keep on talking. Is that in our ministry, I don't know why people think that they're afraid of getting involved, volunteering or doing something, because they think that they gotta do it full time. Oh man, once you do something for Victory Chapel, they're gonna
see. But that's where you make a mistake. No, because you're full time already.
Right.
it doesn't matter. You come into this building doesn't,
right?
Being in this ministry doesn't, that's.
But I mean, because right now we don't really have a lot of people getting involved because they're afraid, Now, once you fix your relationship with God, because I believe everybody that comes to God puts a desire for them to do something.
Oh, definitely.
But and it can
something.
be.
But
I think, that doing tacos is ministry.
But I think, but here's the thing, and this could be another topic, but I think the true problem of it is the true problem of why people don't volunteer, and not just our church, but churches in general, it's because they're too spoon fed.
Yeah.
They're too spoon fed. Like I mean, what do you expect? Like you have, they don't, like if you don't have your own personal relationship with God, it doesn't matter what things you say we're not going to use you that hard. We're not going to do this and that. The problem is if you don't have your own personal relationship with God, why would you want to volunteer?
Yeah, it's just not going to work.
So, I mean,
it's not going to work.
That's what I mean. God will put a desire in your heart, whatever it is.
But I just think it's not even just so much.
And then you're responsible to respond.
But it's not. Yeah. But part of it's going to be. Here's the thing. I look at it this way. Part of it's going to be joy. I think everyone should help out in the church. I think you should have a core group, a core church to be at, to be accountable and stuff like that. But again, people get lost in, okay, this is what we were talking about the last time. They get closed in on, these are the 8 ministries I can be in, and that's it. Right. And I think we have to break that mindset of there. You can do whatever ministry, whether it's under the church or whether it's, but the problem is it's about people. When you have that relationship with God, when you have that focus, and then sometimes you got to look at your ministry. Maybe what you're doing right now, maybe it's just cooking for food for the people in your neighborhood. Maybe it's this or that. It doesn't have to be a recognized ministry. The thing that we need to do is live Christ-like. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think if we live Christ-like, then we'll figure out the rest.
Because, man, I see sometimes, all those idiots that have been protesting for all kinds of protesters out there. Man, I said, look at their dedication to whatever it is. They travel from wherever, They don't care if they get arrested or beat up or whatever, But they're dedicated into what they believe.
It's what they believe, yeah.
And then I think about us, man. We serve God. We should be more dedicated than that, in what God calls us to do, whatever it is.
Because we're I've said this before. We don't know what persecution is. We are in the most spoiled. We are in the most spoiled time of Christianity that you can ever think about because our faith has never truly been tested. What is the biggest? What's the worst thing we've been told? Being called a bigot because you're a Christian. Yeah. That is not being chased by lions. That is not being your life threatened. That is not having to hide indoors, being feared of being caught or anything like that.
Right.
So to expect someone to fight that hard. We don't understand the value of what it is to be a Christian, what it is to have those freedoms, to have truly. We've taken it for granted for so many years.
I'll tell you something, because now we're going to be here all day. You're talking.
Are you quiet the whole time? Is that what it is? I didn't realize you were silent Bob over here.
And because like when I joked about my mom being married 20 times, she's there. I was joking. It's only 10 times. But look, this is me. Okay. This is me. I serve God the way I serve the devil. I serve the devil 120%. Whatever he told me to do, I did it. I did it. Whatever sacrifice it was going to cost me in life. Mm-hmm. And then when I got saved, I told God, I'm going to serve you like I serve the devil. Because you know what? I was a slave to the devil. He didn't treat me good. He mistreated me, So whatever with God, having, you have your up and down and all that, but I'm going to serve God the way, I did with the devil.
Yeah, but the question that you brought up is, why do people not volunteer?
Yeah.
And the reason, but the reason is because look
what I'm saying that is, especially like in our church, how we minister to the people, now we're trying to be more broad to other, not just the drug addict gang members. We're trying to get family oriented for everybody, which has always been like that. But for some reason, we always get labeled, "Oh, that's a drug addict church,"
because we sometimes did focus on that.
But and all that. What I'm saying, most of the people that we dealt with and all that I've dealt, I'm saying now, they were coming out from crime and gangs and all this. They ate nails and drank, chipapote and, all this and all that, or, murdered 50 people and all that. Then they come to Christ, and they're the biggest crybabies that I know. They cry for everything,
But were they the biggest crybabies then, too?
They probably were. Yeah. But they act tough, and that's what I mean. Once you get saved, man, and you're grateful for what God did, and you want to serve Him, you want to love Him, you want to please Him,
Yeah,
and that's why I'm saying that's what we're trying to bring here, and hopefully other people when they come, that's how they'll come to have a relationship with God, and because you're right, without a relationship with God, everything's a burden.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the things, honestly, throughout time, and I think you see it in all churches and stuff like that. If you give it time, like there's a lot of circumstances. A lot of people have been hurt by churches. A lot of people have been this and that, and so there's a lot of little factors to it. But even if you're hurt by a church or you're hurt by a person or whatever, what truly comes out was your focus on God, because you can be hurt by a church. And that's going to take time to heal. But if your relationship is truly rooted in God, then you find another way to minister to Him, whether it's leaving that church, going to another church, starting your own thing, whatever. It's just like we were talking about. It goes into the conversation we were talking about. It was a conversation we were just talking about on when our faith is rooted in our government. If our government changes, then all of a sudden we lost our faith. But if our faith is not rooted in our government and our government changes, then we find another way.
We're going to hurt people. Sometimes we're going to hurt them intentionally. Sometimes we're going to hurt them unintentionally.
Hopefully, it's mostly unintentional.
But that's
life.
But that's what I'm saying. But that's where I'm going to. Your question. Your question was around, and I think it's something we need to explore on the next podcast. And that's what we'll explore is more about why aren't people volunteering in the church? And I think there's a mix to it. I don't think there's one answer to it. There's a mix of it. I think some of it is we are very lazy Christians.
Yeah.
We're very lazy Christians. And then I don't even think some of us are fully in love with God.
No.
I don't think we have that love for God. And then two, we don't know how to utilize it. Look, people think that when they get into ministry, they can only do usherettes, music, preaching, and this. And here's the thing. I think as a church, as a body of Christ,
anything.
But you got to go back to this and look at it from a historical point of view. For the most part, if you wanted to be involved in the church, what did they do? They sent you to Bible school. They sent you to be a preacher. Not everyone was meant to be a preacher. Not everyone was meant to be a pastor.
Right.
But if you look at organizations, they got in the homes and they got, you're a pastor. You're this. And we cause things to be that. Why am I going to volunteer if that's all I can do?
And you're right.
It's because we put everything. We put everything into more of like
trying to change that
in organization, right?
And it's
No, I agree. That's where we've been trying to change things.
And you made me forget what I was going to say.
It's their old age. It has nothing to do with it.
It's like and it's too. A lot of people have a belief that God's gonna give you everything,
Yeah.
You're gonna leave once you come to Christ. Everything's gonna be fine. I went to a doctor this past week because Leticia had an appointment and she saw my doctor and told him, I don't know what Leticia told him that I think he thought I was dying or had a stroke or something, but hey, that's the way I look. And,
what?
So we were there talking. The doctor, told me I'm gonna do this, do that, and then he told, he said, with all your sicknesses and your pain and all that, what you've been through in life, because he knows about my brothers and sisters dying and all that. So the tragedies, he's known all my tragedies. I guess he's my therapist. He's a Pakistani. The first time I saw him, I told him, you're not going to commit suicide in this office, are you? Because I don't want to die. He starts laughing, And he's been a good doctor. Even though he's a Pakistani, he's a good doctor. I forgave him for that. And so
let them know you're joking about it.
Yes. Oh yeah, I'm joking. Yes. I love all kinds of people. They might not love me, but I love them.
Okay.
Anyways. And so he knows my history.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's been a good doctor for 30 years. That's the only doctor I've seen.
Yeah.
He told me, with your pains and all that, you can be, angry, frustrated, and then he throws out that word depressed. When he throws that word, I said, wait a minute, doctor, let me tell you something. I'm not depressed. I'm not. Yeah, I get frustrated. Yeah, I get angry. Yeah, I've heard it and all that. But you know what? Some of the sicknesses that I have, I don't blame God and I don't blame the devil. Some of those I brought upon myself, because of the way I love to eat what I love to eat. I'm going to eat what I want to eat whenever I want to eat it, and all that. I said, so I'm not depressed. So I've learned how to live with the pain. I said, I asked God to heal me. And I said, I've had pastors, friends, and all that tell me, by now God should have healed you, so there's something wrong in your life. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with me, you stupid idiot. It's just that, if God wants to heal me,
the record.
he's going to heal me. But sometimes he won't.
The battery died on us because Pastor Long-Winded over here was still going through his story. Yes, we crack jokes like that. So if you guys get offended, tough luck.
I had to wait till you to finish. It took about 15 minutes of this thing.
Go ahead, Pastor Long-Winded.
Okay, but and the reason I say that because look, we always expect God to heal us complete.
Yeah.
We always expect for God to okay, God, I'm serving you, I'm loving you, I'm doing everything. So you say this and that, and sometimes God ain't gonna heal you.
Yeah.
I've learned how to live with because my drug abuse or whatever brought these sicknesses. I brought them upon myself, my choices in life. But God has helped me through it. God has helped me with the pain and all that. And in reality, He's extended my life to the age I am. Because I should have been dead a long time ago. But and sometimes I think that's what happens with a lot of Christians, because God doesn't do something that they thought. Because sometimes we get other preachers or teachers, whatever, come and tell you, no, God's gonna do it. God gotta do it. He's gonna heal and this and that. But you don't know what God's will is.
Nope.
Well, I think
what I've learned is from coming here and learning that God's gonna give you those 3 answers.
Yes.
Right. Yes, no, wait.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the thing. I mean, you're right. Because if you look at Paul had that thorn in his side.
Oh, yeah, right.
It's like me with that doctor. Yeah. I believe I found favor with God to keep that doctor there. I remember when he graduated from the school and all that, he was finishing his internship. He had told me he was gonna leave, and I told my wife, if he leaves, that's it. I'm not gonna go to a doctor no more, because there's other doctors that almost got in a fist fight with them. But you know what? God kept him there.
Yeah.
And he's put up with my crap, put up with the way I am, because he knows
you're pain,
and and he gets a joke because every time I go in, he asks me, "How you doing?" Fine, and he tells all his students, "You see, what did I tell you? Look at this man's record. You'll see how he's not fine." But and he works with me, knowing that I've been a stubborn man, and all that. And to me, that's how God is healing me. That's how God is doing it, by keeping him there. And all that. And we gotta come to the point to love God in the good and the bad and whatever the circumstances. Because sometimes if God doesn't do it in our favor, that's it. We give up. We get, we're supposed to love God and all that, and and that's why I love music. Music ministers to me more than the preachers. But God uses both, preaching and all that. But there's songs that God has ministered to my life during this time, and through hardships and all that, because sometimes it's so easy to get discouraged.
Oh man,
sometimes so easy.
Yep.
Well, that's it. You can finish now.
We can close that now.
Yeah, go ahead.
You sure you're done telling the story?
I'm done.
Just want to make sure.
I know we got a fresh battery.
Yeah.
Got plenty of footage.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy you telling people how stubborn you are.
Yeah.
Like,
we're gonna delete that.
Anyways, I know we were all over the place on this podcast. You think that we might have been arguing and this and that, but honestly, these are the conversations we need to be having as Christians with each other and stuff like that. Look, we can have these conversations whether we agree or disagree, and a lot of times we do agree. It's just the way we state things differently, but the main thing is having these conversations as Christians. Let's get in love with God. Let's try the different things. I think one of our next podcasts is just kind of.
I want to talk more. And
like you said, we're not done yet.
We're almost done. Like you said too. You know what? You don't have to agree with us.
Yeah.
We're not 100% right in everything we say.
Yeah.
Some of it is based in the Bible.
Yep.
Other times it's our opinion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to put out an opinion, which we've been saying for
20
episodes or longer, put it out there. You can do it. I think you can do it
in the comments,
right?
You can do it in the comments, or you can send it to us anonymous. I'm not sure in the comments if you can put it anonymous or not.
And just let us know. No, I don't think that was right what you said, or I don't believe in that. But this is what I believe. Give us feedback.
Yeah, we're trying to create that community.
Try to get out of your shyness and tell us. And instead of gossiping to other people about us, let us know. Tell us how you feel.
Tell us to our face.
That way we can, and if there's other subjects you want us to talk about.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Again, like I said, we're not here to entertain or waste time. We're here to try to minister you and allow God to lead us in what He wants us to talk. That's why sometimes it looks like we're all over the place, but in reality, it's God leading.
Yeah.
Because He knows what the people need. When we hear these podcasts, so give us feedback. Okay, you can.
So like I said, I mean, part of it is just we don't have the answers for all these subjects. These subjects are not always easy to talk about, so we are learning along the way, and we're going to disagree on some points, but it is what it is. So again, be part of the community. Subscribe, hit the like button, pass it on, and again, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, just put them in there. And with that, we'll be out. You guys have a good one.